2012. And I have two lovely American Eskimo dogs. You may hear barking in the background at some point. In the background, you could see them. My female is Violet, and she's going to be 3 in March. And then my male is Silver, and he is going to be, or he just turned 10. I also have a tortoiseshell calico, and pretty much my entire life have been with animals, and have dedicated my life to animals. So being a part of this is really exciting for me.
Awesome. So we're going to be talking about a few things, and there's going to be a chance for you all to answer any or ask any questions. Jina and I will be able to chat. But just to kind of get things going, Jina, what are the benefits of having a pet? What are the things in our lives that get better? What are the bad things that kind of reduce from having pets?
Oh, there's so many benefits to having a pet. People typically live longer, have lower stress levels. They're able to cope with things better, stressors, even things as like addictions, and recovery. There's this place that I like to go horseback riding, and it's kind of like a halfway house for men, where they take care of the horses and take people on trail rides as part of their therapy. So it's actually used in therapy for a lot of people as well, and emotional support. Not only does it reduce like the anxiety and stress, but also reduces blood pressure, and it does actually help like keep you active as well. So you have to get up and take the dog out for a walk, or you have to get up and go clean that litter box, or go feed your horse, and it keeps you on your feet. You have someone or something there that's always waiting for you and loves you with unconditional love. And helps you keep you social too. Like you can meet people by walking your dog at the dog park, meet people that are of like mind. So yeah, so many different things. Oh, hi, Eugene.
Hi, Eugene. We couldn't have a pet event without our pets here.
No.
But I remember when the first time I had to introduce my my cat was when my father had a heart surgery. He had a heart attack, and even then they never really been around cats. He really helped my dad recover, and he gave the whole family some therapy.
Yeah. So my grandma, she has been in a rehab facility. She has broken her hip a couple of times. And this is pre-COVID, mind you, but they allow pets there because they do kind of realize the therapeutic properties that pets have. And I remember bringing Silver. I didn't have my female at the time, so I brought Silver, my male, and just the amount of like joy that he brought to everyone there. I almost came to tears. It was just like people just saw him, and he would come up to them, and he just put his little head in their lap and just want to get petted. And like you could just see the anxiety and the stress melt away from people's faces. And my grandma going around introducing him as her great grandpuppy. And it was great to kind of see that in action.
And that pets can be so therapeutic that often for a lot of domestic violence services, New Beginnings is really unique. We have some programs that do support pets and our families, but a lot of domestic violence services actually are not pet friendly. They have shelters, and because of the nature of group living, people can't really bring their animal companions. And so it's really hard because we know animals can reduce trauma so much. There's so many ways that they benefit trauma survivors.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I really, really like the New Beginnings organization and what you guys do, because it could be the reason someone leaves and doesn't, you know what I mean? Am I able to bring my pet? Do I know my pet's going to be safe? Like what's going to happen? Yeah.
And caring for an animal can really help someone again recover not only from the trauma, but animals are really good at helping us be mindful. They're often present in the moment. They often help us, with the immediate needs. Like my animal needs to eat now, my animal needs to go to the bathroom now, my animal needs to be taken out now. Um, and they often just, even touching an animal, like the feeling that you get from, petting your horse or petting your bird, that feeling of like your snake skin wrapping around your arm, like it can feel really, really sensory and really grounding. But even on a deeper level, pets actually are really in tune with their environment. They are able to sense when danger is present, and having someone that has a natural sense of danger, especially for survivors who are leaving dangerous places, is really helpful. It allows you to feel calm when your animal's calm. You know that your environment's good. I often, don't like to fight around my cats, because if they get scared, then I feel bad for them. And then I realize that this is a pretty unsafe environment.
Yeah, and also with loneliness, because sometimes that's all you have is your dog or your cat or your bird um in your life, and it helps with kind of keeping like it might not be another person, but having another being in your life with you to be there and share experiences with you, good or bad.
And animals do treat those relationships really well too. I mean, pets are really compassionate. They are really forgiving people, even when we feel really like we have a grudge. They are very kind. They also come from places of trauma too, which make it really interesting and really adds a new way of how we care for them. But I find that, pets are also really in tune with our emotions. Like if we're feeling sad, like dogs are really good at being able to sense that you need support.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. um I mean, dogs are used for all sorts of different things, for from seeing eye dogs to bomb sniffing dogs. The It's just amazing how we have dogs are actually the first animal that we've ever domesticated, and we have literally made this breed to be our best friend. So it's like we feel we have an obligation to take care of them, but they also have that feeling of an obligation to take care of us and use their skills and their powers, I guess, their sense of smell and their sense of uh uh conscious proprioception around the world, to make us better, and then we make them better as well.
Yeah, that reminds me of can I share a story?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
When I was before I was doing prevention work, I was working at our shelter. And one of our clients there had a cat with her who was very old, who had been with her, before she was in her abusive relationship, with her the whole time, and now with her at the shelter. And um, she was the cat was with her the whole time she was in the shelter. And then when she got stable housing after she was in the shelter, the cat was able to move in with her. Um, and I think the cat knew that she needed the cat there with her. And when she got her stable housing, the cat actually passed away. Um, I think she was just kind of holding on and making sure that her human mom was in a safe place and doing okay. It's just amazing how they can do those things.
They know, yeah. And the way that they'll learn how to communicate with us too. Like cats don't meow to each other, they meow to their people. They're trying to communicate with you. And I always thought that was so sweet about cats, is they're trying to figure out a way to open up a line of communication, not just body language. They're like, all right, I think this is what you mean, meow. But yeah, and it's important to have animals in your life, because helps it helps you become a better person as well, because you develop compassion, and a lot of like empathy on living beings. um, you could tell a lot about a person by the way that they treat animals.
I think like that's something that I really do appreciate. Like I know me and Gina were talking about this we talked about how animals really do have their own histories and lives before them sometimes. Like for those of us who maybe have like adopted a pet, you know, through their life, like sometimes you don't know where they come from. And it's kind of like how humans are, right? Like a lot of times people are judged for who they are and like how they respond and behave. But I think it's like if you're compassionate towards an animal who has these like this traumatic past and has these responses that are a little bit hard to understand, but you know how to treat them well, like it can be so rewarding. And like it is true that like people don't have to always have to, like people don't always have to be in a place where they are misunderstood having gone through trauma. Just like with pets, like we can respect them, love them, and like find so much value and connection with them.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that we thought was interesting was oftentimes we talk about healthy relationships, and we talk about, you know, how to know if somebody's good to you, and then we talk about like what it's like to be healthy to a pet. But I don't know about you all, but sometimes I'll introduce somebody to my pets and I'm like, wait, this didn't go as well as I thought it should have, or like something feels a little bit off. So I think it's also really important when it comes to pets to also discuss like, what does it mean for people in your life to be healthy to your pets? Like, what are some healthy interactions beyond like, you know, your pet just doesn't have just a relationship with you. They often, you know, meet new people, meet new roommates, new children, new romantic partners, especially.
Mhm.
So if anybody also wants to throw it in the chat, but what are some signs that, you know, somebody is being healthy to you and your pet?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Ask before engaging and touching. Patience. Um, yeah, speaking respectfully and kindly. That's a good one. Anything else?
I really like the asking before engaging and touching. Like for me, it's like you're not necessarily gonna ask Eugene and he's gonna tell you, but like for me, it's like I can tell you that Eugene doesn't like being pet by his tail. And like people will be like, wow, your cat bit me after they pet him at his tail. And I'm like, yes, because he doesn't like that. And you took the risk. Like
Yeah, I told you, I warned you. He warned you.
yeah, like he warned you when he like turned his head around and was like, what are you doing? Like
Mhm.
so I think like being able to like, you know, ask, figure out what he likes, or also being like okay with setting their boundaries, not yelling at them. Yeah, animals don't know what you're saying, really.
Oh yeah, and like when people yell at, and I catch myself doing it too. When like my dogs are barking at something ferociously out the window, a squirrel or another dog or something like that, I'll yell and I'd be like, I am literally just like encouraging this barking by yelling. But it animals, they don't really know why you're yelling at them. So if like they have an accident in a house and you start to yell at them, they don't know why. They just know you're mad, and that can actually make things worse. That can make problem issues even worse by yelling at them. So positive reinforcement is very important, and it's important that the people that are around your pet also uh, show positive reinforcement and abide by your wishes on how you want to have your pet handled or talked to or yelled or not yelled at about things. Now, obviously, there's certain situations where, like, if they're getting into something and they're about to run at the road or something like that, where it might be warranted. But for the most part, being like just being a more positive reinforcement for training is where you want to go, and you want to make sure people know that as well.
Haley said respecting boundaries. Yeah, like being able to like understand like pets are alive too and they have things that they don't like or and like. So like if somebody is also like disregarding their boundaries, could be a red flag.
Right.
Paying attention to their signals, both not verbal, nonverbal, not cornering pets.
Sorry, I told you they bark.
Eugene was doing just a meowing earlier.
I
I
heard
also
them.
feel like allowing your pets to be who they are, right? Like if your dogs are barkers, that's just who they are. That's how they want to live their life.
Oh, they want. Yeah, I always joke around. Don't get an American Eskimo if you don't like barking, because they have a lot to say. But it is important that you do know the breed of animal or the type of animal that you're getting before you get yourself into it. And when you have like a new person coming into your life, maybe letting them kind of know about, like this type of bird or this type of, dog doesn't like this, and you got to keep them with this, and they have a bad habit of getting the garbage, so make sure you put the garbage up.
So we're going to move on to potentially red flags. What are some red flags that someone might be harmful to you in your pet? Feel free to throw it in the chat, unmute.
Yeah, kind of escalate quickly and unexpectedly. Kind of go from 0 to 60 like that. Could be indication of anger management issues when they do that. How they treat humans, especially children.
Yeah, like small children, pets, like a lot of anybody who typically has less power than, adult humans. It is really important to see how those people are treated, right? Like I always hear, like, if you're going on a date with somebody new, you go to a restaurant and that person's rude to the service staff, that's not a good sign that that person is respectful, right? If somebody can see someone as an equals, if somebody can see them as like having power over them, right? Like children are alive too. They should not be disrespected or mistreated. Pets are alive.
Yep, human beings. I think a big one that I could think of is people in like a relationship trying to control you with your pet or a pet that you mutually share, and sometimes like even use that as a way to keep you in an abusive relationship, like for instance. And working in emergency medicine, we see some things that we're kind of like, oh, that's kind of that looks like it might be one of those situations. But like for instance, they're like, if you leave me, then I'm gonna cause harm to your pet, or kind of use kind of those types of behaviors to try to keep you in a relationship that's not healthy.
Also, like they could be taking advantage of like pet policies, right? Like, oh, like if you don't want to stay in this, if you don't want to be with me, and if you want to keep the place, like I'm gonna tell the landlord that, you have a pet under the table. Or like, oh, have fun trying to find a place, like, there's not a lot of pet friendly places. So like taking advantage of the fact that like there are legal ramifications about having a pet with housing too.
Yeah, and it can be difficult, especially if you have big dogs, to find housing that will accept them more, and especially if you have more than one dog. And a lot of, they say this with a lot of things, but a lot of times people that are violent, they start out with animals. And it's a power thing for them. It's not necessarily like they hate. It's just it's a power thing.
Yeah, like I also want to recognize that like some people don't always have control over the pets they have to take care of. Like on it, I think a lot of times we think of pets as like, it's really fun to go pick out a pet, but like I've had situations where somebody has died and like we've had to take care of their pet because there's nobody else who knows how to take care of birds as well as we do. Or, we found this, our family cat is found from the gutter and we just we wouldn't let him live there. And so it's like, these situations where people have these amazing companions that, suddenly come into their lap. So sometimes it's really hard to find pet friendly housing because you didn't anticipate having to take care of a pet.
Yeah, exactly. I told you that story about my bus stop cat that we got where we were never really allowed to have cats growing up. My sister was allergic to them, and then there's this cat that came to the bus stop and we started feeding it scraps of our lunch meat, and she followed us home one day, and we had a cat after that.
Ew. I also want to recognize that like there are some things that just aren't red flags when it comes to introducing your pet to someone. For example, and I'm going to put this list here just so that we can copy paste it and like start to talk a little bit more about our services, because I see that we're naturally getting on that in the chat. But, in general, like when someone's not familiar with pets, they might be uncomfortable meeting your pet for the first time, right? Like that's just a reality. Not everybody does grow up with pets or, grows up with
Right.
a certain type of pet too.
And that doesn't mean a red flag in that instance. So that you're right. Like people might not be exposed to them, or they might not be animal people yet, until you kind of properly introduce them. And but just because someone might be a little bit standoffish or afraid does not mean that they're a bad person.
Yeah, and I think also like there's sometimes people who have boundaries
Mhm.
on, certain things they want to do with your pet where they're like, I would love to take your pet out for a walk, but do not leave me all day with your pet. They can have boundaries about and communicate that. So like people who are able to work on their discomfort, share what is okay, where their boundaries are sharing how they're feeling in the moment. Those are all pretty healthy things. It's really when somebody gets to a place where they're neglecting an animal, when they are, pushing you to have a certain relationship with their animal, are, harming the animal themselves. That's when it starts to get to the red flag. But somebody who is like, generally might not be comfortable around animals, is like doing their best, trying to express their needs.
Yeah. And it goes the other way. If your pet doesn't like the new person, that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person either. Because I know sometimes people are like, oh, my pet knows people. But there's been a couple of times where my dogs, they love everyone, but there's a couple of people that they just for whatever reason want to bark at. And it's not because they're bad people. But they just for whatever reason they just decided that they wanted bark at this person. So you can't use that as a judge either of that person, because the animal, the pet, also has to get warmed up and get to know that person as well.
True. So I know it's 4:30. I just want to wrap up really shortly. We're going to open it up to any questions that come in. But we're just really happy to be able to invite everybody here because we're really proud that Home Safe is one of our programs that provides housing and allows people to bring in their pets. I believe that, somebody said in the chat as well that they wouldn't have left without the pet friendly housing at Home Safe. I wouldn't be able to do anything without Eugene myself. He's my companion. And I think it's really wonderful that we're able to do this because survivors are often forced to make choices about their safety and comfort when like we wouldn't ask people to leave their human children. We wouldn't ask people to leave their human families in order to get safety, right? We want to make sure that our fluffy companions that we're responsible for that actually help us, can come with us too. I also have some resources I'm going to share, but does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask us? Feel free to unmute yourself, throw it in the chat. You can also just pose a question to the group.
I do see a question. Do any of the Seattle homeless shelters let people in who have pets? And I am not aware of any off the top of my head. I don't know if you know of any.
So.
Not off the top of my head. I don't believe so because with just in shared housing situations, the default I would assume is no, because a lot of people might have allergies. And it's a way that people kind of keep their groups the way their group living is set up is really tough to allow pets as well.
think it's also a
Yeah.
liability issue. A lot of the shelters like don't want to risk if someone brings in a dog that might bite someone there. And so they just don't do anything to support people who have pets.
But if you guys do hear of any homeless shelters that do allow pets, let us know, because that would be a good research, because there obviously is a big homeless problem in the area, and you know they
It's
have
usually why
pets that they need
people,
too.
that's one of the reasons why people won't go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
New Beginnings is the only one that I know about where people can bring their pets.
I've worked at 3 different organizations, and I mean, I've been familiar with all sorts of organizations in the areas, and New Beginnings is the only organization I've heard so far that also allows pets.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because we have the individual units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's an amazing thing about you guys. Maybe one day they'll have I know they do like the little tiny houses and stuff for people that are homeless. Maybe one day we'll see something that'll be pet friendly, because that's people that live on the streets obviously have a lot of trauma, and having a pet in their life can help.
And they're often judged for having pets. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like, especially survivors, anybody who is, having housing insecurities, people are often judged for having pets in these situations. They're like, you're not being responsible to your pet, but really, like, your pet also, like, we've talked about how your pet needs you.
Mm-hmm.
And your pet like relies on, having a secure connection. And it would be really irresponsible to take pets away from people, especially in these traumatic situations, because like the pets themselves would be traumatized too. Like, it's just a lose-lose situation.
100%. Yeah.
Before I started working here, I met a woman who was homeless who had a dog with her, and it was her emotional support animal. Like, it was absolutely critical that they stay together for both of their sakes.
Yeah, I wonder if because I know there's different rules for like housing and stuff for people that have like emotional support animals. I obviously there is for people that have service animals, but emotional support animals, I believe that they are able to have them in housing where they don't typically allow pets, but I'm not sure about like homeless shelters, how the laws kind of relate to that.
I'm just responding to a comment from CS that this is a huge gap in Seattle. I know that we were supposed this is like a 30-minute event, so feel free, folks, to hop off. We will send you a recording of this with some other materials as well. But also, I'm just responding to the comments and staying in discussion with folks. But CS, like you were saying, this is a huge gap in a lot of places. There's actually like the idea of what pets are, right? Like that we can choose to have animals in our care. I heard is like a really Western thing because, for a lot of people in a lot of cultures, like even in America, we've grown up with animals in our care. Like we do feel responsible for taking care of the nature that's around us. And so like when I hear of like pet laws and pet housing laws, like I sometimes think about how they like work in align like with gentrification policies too, because like we need to take care of animals in our area. They have been here before we were, right? We are not the only inhabitants of a land. And so being able to have like really open pet housing policies where, pet friendly housing isn't like a unique thing. It's more common than not is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there definitely does need to be more financial resources for pets, right? Like,
oh yeah,
medical care for pets and like feeding pets, and that it'd be great to have more funds for that.
Yeah, it's expensive. That's why pet insurance, if is gonna be
You
your
can only
best
get it when
friend.
they're young.
Yeah,
You can only
exactly.
get it
Get
when
it.
they're young.
Get it when they're young. I actually I work in the industry, so but I did actually get end up getting pet insurance for my dog who was 9 at the time. He's 10 now. And thankfully he hasn't really had any health problems, but you don't want to wait usually that long to get insurance on your pets. But man, it is a lifesaver, literally.
Yeah, after I moved out from Home Safe, my cat that I have, he's 10 now. He got an abscess in his one of his teeth, and it was huge under here, and it bloody everywhere, all over our house. And I had to do a fundraiser on Facebook, and luckily someone through the rescue that I was doing photography for, there was an anonymous donor, and the vet clinic said that they would take the money because it was like $1,500. They pulled out 10 teeth. It was astronomical, the amount of money, but I was able to raise the money in a couple of days. There was no way I had that kind of money. But when I was at Home Safe, now I will out Victoria, she was talking about me and my cat. While I was there, yeah, my cat Haley died, and they helped me with the it was just, Roman's going, that's not true. It was right after we moved out. But yeah, she had diabetes, and anyway, she was getting very ill. And then it was about it was just a couple of months after we moved out, it was our dog Apollo passed away. So we had 2 senior animals when we moved into Home Safe. And then it was a little bit after we had moved out that they both passed away. And as I don't know, they helped us move on, I guess. So
Yeah.
But yeah, very expensive, but I couldn't have left or done anything if they weren't coming with me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that. My pets are my children. I don't have any and don't plan on having any human children. So I would do anything I possibly could for them, as long as they're, happy. There are some people that go too far with things, and it's hard to stop sometimes, but there's a point where you're starting to do it for selfish reasons for yourself. But as long as my pets are healthy, then I would try to do whatever I could. And it is expensive. It is expensive, and we everyone in the veterinary field like realizes that as well. But it's also we're using the same equipment and the same supplies as human medicine. So it's amazing what we do to try to lower costs for people too. Like we're like sometimes there's veterinarians that will be like, I know I'm going to take a hit on this, but I got to save this animal.
Yeah. Victoria, this is he's
Oh.
Oh, so cute. That face is so precious.
Oh my goodness.
The squish face. I love it.
What a sweetie. Someone looks really comfortable right now.
Yeah, just right behind you, being used as a little chair cushion.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Does anyone else have any questions or things they'd like to share? If there's any questions at all, you can always email me or Gina. We will answer anything at all. I'm putting my email in the chat.
Yeah, I'm putting mine in there too. Yeah.
And we are always welcome to answering any of your pets and healthy relationship questions. You can always drop them in here and we can write a response and email it out to the group. And this will be a recording. So if there's anything that you want to just kind of revisit back in this chat, you're more than welcome to.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm here if you guys have any questions as well. So appreciate you guys all joining us today. Important topic, a topic that I was really excited to talk about today with Neva, and excited that there is a program out there, a unique program out there like your guys's.
Yeah, and I find, it's just really important to think about so many times when it comes to working with survivors or trying to understand survivors, we are so focused on, like, what are you going to eat? How are you going to get there? How are you going to do this? And we forget, where's your pet? How is your pet going to come with you? Do you have a pet? So many times people come up with these safety plans without even realizing this person has a dog or this person has a cat they want to take with them. And so oftentimes, oh, we've got a fluffer in here. Who is this, Jasenia?
Hi,
Hi.
Tico. Tico, ¿cuánto tiene Tico? 9 months.
FIFO?
Oh, Tico, the name is Tico.
Kiko.
Tico,
Oh my goodness.
it's 10 months.
Just a baby.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Tico.
Did they get a haircut?
Yeah, it's the animal support for my husband. It's condition.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that face. Oh my gosh.
Sweetheart.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing us.
Very cute. I was gonna have one of my dogs come up here, but they started barking. I was like, okay, we're not gonna do this. There must be a squirrel outside. I don't know what's going on out there.
Well, thank you all for joining. This was just such a nice way to talk about relationships, health, domestic violence survivors. And thank you so much, Jina, for joining us, as well as everybody who came to chat and show us their pet.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Let me know if you guys ever need someone else to come chat about stuff.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday evening. It looks like the sunset is about to finish and it's gorgeous. So get out there while you can.
Indeed. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, all.
Bye.